Greetings, my fellow lords and ladies. Welcome back to another episode of the Exiled Journal. Wow, it has been a long time, but first, let us speak to Naval. Yeah.
Our paths meet in the shell of a long-dead snail. An empire slow to see where its path was taking it. Built on the husk of another, and destined to be buried time and time again. This city will see great things yet, Exile. But not in your lifetime.
By the way, the character that you're seeing right now is my alternative character if my Marauders recordings fail. So yeah, this is post-commentary, by the way.
A Templar in exile? Now I've seen it all. Dominus must have run out of honest businessmen to banish, and he's finally getting to the real criminals. Just joking with you, your worship. In truth, I'm grateful to you for returning Clarissa to us. Problem is, one die lover ain't much good to anyone. Like gloves, they tend to be more useful than peers. The missing glove, in this case, is a young fella named Tolman. May God above light your way to Tolman's salvation, brother. Good luck to ya.
Matamor Patur thanks you, Exile, for returning our Clarissa to us. She is the gentle heart of this place, a spirit still capable of love in this wasteland of hatred. Yet that gentle heart remains in jeopardy. Tolman isn't deserving of Clarissa, but she'll not smile until he's by her side.
Alright, we get it.
Talakota.
We need to save freaking Tolman. God. Now this character.
Keep your distance, Exile. The name's Grigor, and when you've had your eyes fill of my twisted visage, how about you turn those fine jellies of yours eastward? Yes, you've brought Clarissa home to us, and once again I see she pesters me with pity. There's only so much broth, so many bouquets that a man can take. For a criminal, Clarissa has a strangely soft center. Still, I'd rather not see that heart of hers harden. See if you can find that lost boy mate of hers. With him around, Clarissa doesn't have as much time to bother me.
Grigor has been
Goodbye.
changed by Piety's experimentations. He is kind of like a living dead man. As you can see, you see the white outlines of his character, and in the middle of his leg there is white, so his leg is like without muscles or skin. You can see the two bones.
Tala. Dominus and his Ebony Legion arrived some time ago. Now the blackguards scour Sarn like hungry maggots on a carcass. What are they looking for? Only that which is best left unfound.
Maramoa is another Karui, I don't know, survivor, descendant, whatever. She is part of the Karui tribe.
Here. The slums are east of here. Used to house the unwashed of the Empire a couple centuries back. Now it's home to the walking ulcers and sores of this poor city.
And Harrigan is basically the, kind of the adopted. He is the father of Clarissa, basically. Well, he adopted her, yeah. Alright, so let's go and find this Tolman. Oh. But first, we do need to take a look at any ancient graffiti that we find.
The Monkey King has built his throne on your back. A throne of gold and gem, polished with blood and tear. Throw off the Monkey King and his shining privy before your back is broken.
Now, the Monkey King is a character which I do not know the name of yet. He isn't King Izero, but still. Anyway, this is the crematory.
Life in his right hand, death in his left. And then there are those who fell through God's fingers.
That scream, sadly, is the boy we were supposed to save.
A dead man and a living machine. There's your truth, heretic. Enough of this!
Yeah, this character doesn't give a shit about you. Storm God Ultos is insanely powerful.
I am no beast of burden.
God damn it.
Poor Tolman. I made this bracelet for him when he first arrived here. Idiot said he'd never take it off. I called him a liar. He didn't, though. Not once. I need to give you something. I asked a lot of you out there in the slums. More than I should have. You tried. And that's all we exiles can ever hope to do.
Try or not try. There is... or do not. There is no fucking try. I failed. So, sorry. Anyway, you can now sell some items with you. At you. Yeah. That disconnect though.
Be careful.
I no longer dream when I sleep. I have a nightmare. The same nightmare over and over. The mirror. It's never my reflection looking back. The first time that mirror appeared to me, it was Cole I saw. A rapist from Oriath I had the displeasure of sharing a pen with in Gravisius's stockade. Piety took him for her experiments, and that night I saw her handiwork while I slept. This time it was Tolman, flesh dried to leather, organs shrunk to husks, blood trickling through his skeleton like red dust in an hourglass. It's Piety's gift to me, that mirror. At least I won't be seeing Clarissa the next time I look into it. Make sure it's not you I see either. I walked halfway across this forsaken continent because of an ode. Of jewels and eternity, it's called. For twinkled promises of jewels and eternity, the Gemling Queen gave her heart and body to the King of Shades for one more day in the sun. The last day in the sun. That's but a portion of the full epic. The Gemling Queen lived, and she's the enigma behind the fall of the Ezomites and the Eternals both. Look to the Solaris Temple to the northeast. Find the Gemling Queen's remains before Piety does, and destroy them.
So, the Ezomites. Who are they?
Death came to town. The roaring Ezomites wore red. The red of blood. The red of the fray. Death came to town. The crying Ezomites wore black. The black of disease. The black of dismay. Death came to town. The silent Ezomites wore grey. The grey of twilight. The grey of decay. Only the Isles of Scoth were spared. Once a backwater of my proud civilization, now all that remains of the Ezomites. Tread carefully, Exile.
So, where did the Ezomites come from? And this is where something dawned on me. Oriev isn't on the mainland. No. It's an island off the coast of Rayclast. One of the islands, either down to the left side of this or to the right, is probably the islands where the Ezomites came from. Then we have the Eternals, which lived on the mainland, and then we have the Karui, which came from some island also, and basically invaded the coast of Rayclast. Now, one big reason why, the city of Sarn actually is inside a big, how you call it, lake also. So these cultures really like their water surrounded areas, I guess. But also, well, no, not yet. You don't have the information that I already got twice. Well, more than twice, but you know, I paid attention to it twice. Yeah, but this character is utilizing the new channel version of Lightning Tendrils with Storm Barrier, and it's going to go Hierophant, which in this version isn't that strong yet, and I really sorry,
Tolman's dead then. Another victim of Piety's cruelty. Perhaps he escaped lightly. Look upon Grigor to see what life entails under Piety's influence. Let me offer you something. In recognition of all that you have done for us, we shall mourn Tolman's death as we shall treasure Clarissa's life.
Well, thank you. Conductivity. Yeah.
General Gravicius demands absolute obedience from his blackguards, meaning he's surrounded himself with cowards and lackwits, unable to lift a finger without orders. If you're able, traverse the river and murder Gravicius in his own barracks. He'll be ripping the very mind from the skulls of our enemies.
Anyway, but in 3.2, the Hierophant got a lot of buffs, all surrounded around Arcane Surge, which I quite like because I wanted to be an Eldritch tank, like a mana battery tank.
Clarissa will weep for Tolman. She must. The cloud is darkest before the rain. Grigor straddles two worlds. 1 foot planted on this soil, 1 in the dirt of spirit and shadow. When you speak with him, be sure to know from which world his words arise. It's an often told story among the Karui, how Vol of Thebris bent his knee to my ancestor, King Calm, and promised freedom in return for war. While Vol raised his Purity Rebellion in the heart of the Empire, Calm took Lord Lion Eye's head and the southern coast all the way to Siren's Cove. It was the greatest conquest the Karui have ever seen.
Now, Vol actually... Wait a second.
It's an often told story among the Karui, how Vol of
Vol
Debris
Debris
bent his knee to my ancestor,
ancestor,
King
Khaum,
Khaum, and promised freedom in return for war. While Vol
Vol
raised his
was
purity rebellion in the heart of the Empire, Khaum took Lord Lion Eye's head and the southern coast all the way to Siren's Cove. It was the greatest conquest the Karui have ever seen.
So, the Karui never went beyond the Siren's Cove, so yeah. But Vol actually led a rebellion against the act of thaumaturgy.
If I knew how to cross the river safely, I'd be wearing Gravisia.
And
there is nothing else. Be well.
Yeah, basically I will talk a lot more about Vol at the end of this episode.
I'll miss a boy. He was always up for a laugh, whether it was at his expense or not. But I wouldn't miss that Clarissa more. Hagen's the name, by the way, and it's my honour to welcome you to dirty old Sarn, the metropolis of opportunity. The opportunity to make something of yourself, or the opportunity to have a very messy death. Victaria was a poet what ended up leading a rebellion, right under the nose of Emperor Chittis. But here's what really interests me. Our wordsmith was quite the talented larcenist as well. Pulled off the heist of the century, in the name of the people, of course. 3 finely crafted platinum busts, commissioned by Chittis for his favourite trio of generals. Victario and his coppers hold up in the sewers. Now that you have Clarissa's keys... Victario was a poet what ended up leading a rebellion, right under the nose of Emperor Chittis. But here's what really...
Emperor Chittis is basically the emperor of the Eternal Empire, aka Sarn is the capital, which was betrayed by a high priester Vol. Because, you know, as it says, the Purity Rebellion. Vol didn't like the thaumaturgy that was going on inside his civilization. While Vol succeeded in his rebellion, and eventually he might have lost to King Khaum, but he gave Khaum basically the land that he took and for peace. His reign was quite short because of Malachi.
I was Clarissa's guardian angel back in Oriath. Put food on the table in return for a bit of light work. I try to keep her out of trouble as best I can here, but Sarn's full of secrets, and Clarissa's full of curiosity.
Yeah, Clarissa is going to be a mine for lore at the end of the episode.
She's just so ample, is our Marimore. In my mind, you'll find no saucier specimen of womanhood. It's her tattoos and that fancy talk she does. Intoxicating. She's a cool one, though.
And basically, Maramoa is, yeah, a Karui. That's all you actually need to know about her in terms of lore. So she can basically explain things in these from the eyesight of the Karui.
I can't imagine what that poor bastard's been through. It's a miracle Gregor hasn't completely lost his mind. Granted, he's lost 1 or 2 pieces along the way, but there's still plenty that's worth listening to.
Gregor is an interesting character.
Gravesius is the mailed and bloodied right hand of Dominus. And I thought the Templar were meant to be spiritual men of deepest humanity. You notice the sarcasm in my tone, right? Had to smuggle a fellow out of Theopolis once. Got a bit too friendly with Gravesius's wife, he did. Every blackguard was out on the streets looking for him, so I had to think lateral like. We took to the drains and didn't pop our heads above the pavement until we sniffed the sea. A grubby bloody job it was, but worth it for the coin he paid. You want a piece of Gravesius? Sometimes the only way up is down.
But Gregor, basically, I think because of the thaumaturgy experiment Piety did on him, that he is indeed half dead, like literally half dead. The virtue gems are made of spirits, if you can remember.
I'm no history scholar, but I know that Emperor Chitus was overthrown by Vol of Thebris in the so-called Purity Rebellion. But Vol had the shortest reign of any internal emperor. The Cataclysm
started that. Yes, the Cataclysm. How much time has passed since the Cataclysm? That's what I want to know.
I'm no history scholar, but I know that Emperor Chitus was overthrown by Vol of Thebris in the so-called Purity Rebellion. But Vol had the shortest reign of any internal emperor.
So there you are. I used to be quite the lockpick back in Oriath. No vault nor bedchamber was safe from me. Now I have a new type of key, the Virtue Gem. Put the right key in the right lock, and you open up a world of possibility. Aid me in my cause, and I'll be inclined to offer you some of those possibilities at a reasonable price. And the more you help me, the more I can potentially offer you. Such is the fundamental rule of commerce. So look for me out there in the wastelands, Exile. By then I'm sure to have found another way for you to improve our mutual situation.
Vorici, the Master Assassin, is basically my favorite master of this entire game. Why? Because he actually knows shit about Thaumaturgy and the Virtue Gems.
It is not how a man lives, but how a man dies that truly matters. Katarina's cadaverous sculptures mock us in what should be our finest moment.
And they're already dead, man. You truly don't need to give a fuck about that.
Tora thinks almost as poorly as she smells. You cannot start a new world by simply slaughtering the old. Pay no heed to that primitive.
If you slaughter everything from this world, then yeah, you can.
One of these days I'm going to sheathe my daggers in Elrion's faith-blind eyes. When a man takes on religion, he locks up his mind and throws away the key.
Amen to that, man.
When it comes to knowledge and power, we Oriathans have always looked to our dearly departed empire. From what I've learned of Haku, we should have been looking closer to home. When it comes to knowledge and power, we Oriathans have always looked to our dearly departed empire. From what I've learned of Haku, we should have been looking closer to home.
The Karui, indeed, managed to basically wipe out the entire coastline of the Eternal Empire without the use of the Virtue Gems, but I think with the use of their Karui spirits. Now the Karui spirits are basically if you use totems, then my theory is that Karui spirits are actually controlling those totems. So yeah, I don't know. Haku is indeed interesting. That's also why I played the Marauder, because he is a Karui.
Gems represent the one true power here in Rayclast. The Vaal understood this, the Eternals also. Now it is our turn to study and exploit these most precious of stones. Geomancy I have come to call the field, and of one thing I am certain. It is we Geomancers who shall inherit this fallen empire, who shall raise this realm to its former glory and beyond. I have much that I might impart to you on the subject, but whether you are worthy of such enlightenment, well, that remains to be seen.
Please tell me more. I need that shit, man. So, repeat it for me again for a second.
Gems represent the one true power here in Rayclast. The Vaal understood this, the Eternals also. Now it is our turn to study and exploit these most precious of stones. Geomancy I have come to call the field, and of one thing I am certain. It is we Geomancers who shall inherit this fallen empire, who shall raise this realm to its former glory and beyond. I have much that I might impart to you on the subject, but whether you are worthy of such enlightenment, well, that remains to be seen.
The League in this video is still Abyssal League, and the developers have confirmed that the Abyssals, that the Liches are preceding the Vaal. So we have the Abyssal, Abyssal Liches, the Vaal, and the Eternal Empire as our chronological order. But first we need to pick up some statues, and the first is of Marcus Lioni. The Emperor honors Marcus Lioni as supreme servant. The road to glory is paved with sacrifice. As supreme servant. Second, wait, no. First, we need to take a look at the Undying Barricades, or Undying Blockade. This heap of mass, this heap of basically flesh, is still alive. You can see the shapes of humans in there. Like, there's a man on the wall, and there's a leg of somebody, and a torso of somebody. Yeah, this thing isn't that nice, no. Alright, the second. Gaius Centali. The Emperor honors Gaius Centali as supreme servant. A man's thoughts are his wings. And the final is of Hector Tertius. The Emperor honors Hector Tertius as servant. Strength in purpose is strength indeed. Now, the marketplace, our end destination. Let's get out of these sewers. What's this?
I write this now in hope that someone will remain. Someone may remember. The sun is an orb of blood. Twisted twilight shrouds my eyes. The air reeks of anguish. Sarn has plunged into nightmare. The man who served me coffee now writhes on the floor. He rants of visions he alone can see, as writhing red tentacles grow from his face, as if his eyes had been seeds waiting to sprout. He is quiet now, my waiter. No more cackling and screaming. Dead. Of my fellow patrons, only 2 live. The others have fallen. Their blood is everywhere. The survivors, gemlings both, their skin shrivels and grays to the hue of necrosis. Their gems flare with unholy luster, their eyes black as hatred. A gemling ghoul, it twisted off a corpse's head, gnaws at skull-like dog. My head now, visions clawing at me. Thinking burns. I see horror. Envy the mute corpses at my feet. Words flay me. Flee me. All is madness.
Alright, a first-hand experience of the apocalypse, or the catalysm. Nice. Alright, let's go to the catacombs, in which is both a ascendancy plate and another, how you call it, ancient graffiti. If this would load, please. I really need to get better equipment in terms of loading and shit.
I shall wipe the filth from this house of God.
No, don't be like that.
There is nothing eternal in this empire of ours, but the names of our day that shall be revered or reviled in the centuries to come.
There's one thing that's eternal from your empire, if nothing kills it.
An emperor cannot allow himself to become buried in the shadowed vaults of self-doubt. Cannot allow thoughts of imagined disaster to spin about inside his mind like so many strife-splintered wheels. An emperor navigates his way through the terrors of perplexity with his eyes set firmly on the rising sun.
This is Izar. But who is he? Like, I don't know.
The Beatles poet could hide us spoils from chitters, but not from us, eh? I knew you was the exile for the job.
I'm sure he'd been more than compensated already from Victario's stockpiles, but he's a
No,
little
I
extra.
wasn't.
Care of something I found under a dead man's bed. Why? Just because I like you.
Alright.
Bring me back something nice, huh?
Little bit of housekeeping, which I will inevitably need to do all over again because next league is a complete and utter reset for everything. But hey, next league is interesting for lore purposes at the very least. Bestiary. More interesting information about the beasties in this world.
Yes?
Neat. Alright, Clarissa.
Maramoa. I've heard that the Karui have this philosophy. Makanui, the way of the warrior. I don't think you could get any more Makanui than her.
Oh yeah, you can.
She took it upon herself to look after me, before Tolman arrived. Saved my skin more than once. I'm fine with that. Beats being on her bad side.
I guess.
Hagen likes to think he was my kind old uncle back in Theopolis. Granted, the work he gave me saved my parents and I from starvation. This was after my father lost the family fortune at the card table, and we had to give up the manor in the country for a flea box in Theopolis. But he's not half as generous as he makes out. When Hagen gives you something, you can be damned sure that he's getting his pound of flesh in return.
I mean, that's how things work. That's how trading works. I mean, come on. You can't blame the man. He's not literally your father or uncle. He needs to eat too, you know? Alright. Now, give me some exposition on Grigor, please. Come on.
No one should have to go through what Grigor has. I help him as much as he'll let me, but he's a proud one, and so he should be. He's survived what has destroyed too many of us.
Oh, boo-hoo, come on. He is dead already. I know, your lover boy is dead. Ooh. You know what's worse? Everything that has happened in the past, bitch.
Halfway across the world, and yet the tie between Vanilla and I endures. That was Piety's real name back in Theopolis, before her rise to greatness. Vanilla sold her thaumaturgy in the day, her body at night. Sought after, she was. Enough so to become one of my best buyers. But money never meant much to Vanilla. No, she was striving for something better, nobler. Used to tell me that life needn't be this hard. It's time you all realized that. I bet she fed Tolman the same bloody line.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of fucked up what she did, but come on. Better that than dying inside well, not really dying, but, you know, getting resurrected inside the nightmare. I mean, come on. What would you want?
The blackguards talked about Piety's precious gems being infected with nightmare. Tolman, what did she do to you?
To be honest, she didn't do anything with the nightmare gem to him. He was just electrocuted. A waste of my...
The blackguards talked about Piety's precious gems being infected with nightmare.
But infected with nightmare. Interesting.
Vanilla was arrested for consorting with the unholy and condemned to the pyre. This was before the banishments. Dominus shared a last supper with her, heard her confession. Most think Vanilla earned Dominus's patronage on her back. I don't. Vanilla gave Dominus her better life and got a new name in return. You can count on one thing. Piety's grand future won't include the likes of you, me, or Tolman.
Which are the likes of what? But anyway, virtue gems infected with nightmare. That's interesting. What is nightmare exactly?
On the fall of the Empire, the historians are deathly silent. After the Purity Rebellion, the Kingdom of Kaon blockaded Oriath, preventing any trade or correspondence with the mainland. It said that Khan planned to invade. Only when the Karui retreated did Oriath get any news from Rayclast. But by that time, there wasn't really anyone left to tell the tale.
So inside the lifetime of one man, the cataclysm
On the fall
happens.
of the Empire, the historians are deathly silent. After the Purity Rebellion, the Kingdom of Khan blockaded Oriath, preventing any trade or correspondence with the mainland. It said that Khan planned to invade. Only when the Karui retreated did Oriath get any news from Rayclast. But by that time, there wasn't really anyone left to tell the tale.
So, the time span, at least the Eternal Empire to Oriath, isn't that long. Well, the end to the Eternal Empire and the rise of Oriath.
Chitus thought that the gemling was the pinnacle of human progress. These glorious gems have brought us within spitting distance of godhood, he once said. The High Templar at the time, Vol of Thebris, thought they were a perversion. He wanted the Empire made pure, cleansed of the stain of thaumaturgy. You look at Sarn and tell me which one you think was right. And while you're out there, look out for monkeys. No, not those bloody monkeys from Frisia. These ones are painted on the walls. I think you'll find them enlightening.
Kind of, yeah. But I think if Vol didn't do anything, Chitus might have struck down the Karui invasion and might have noticed what Malachi did.
Be careful.
Something caught your eye? Maramoa's sure of herself, and that kind of surety gets you killed in Sarn. You and all those around you. Hagen's got the right idea. Don't believe in anything that you can't trade or eat.
Or kill, I think.
I wouldn't rely on Hagen in a fight, and I wouldn't put too much faith in what he says. But he has one highly useful asset. His obsession with self-preservation. If Hagen deems you of use in keeping his fat self alive, he'll do almost anything for you.
Hey, isn't that fat? I mean, he's fatter than me, but still. But not by much, but... Alright. The last thing he needs to tell me is general governance.
I tried to penetrate the Solaris Temple in the northeast. Almost got myself killed by the bloody ribbons that guard the place. Bizarre, floating tapestries they are. Creatures of cloth and thaumaturgy. Fortunately, a few legionnaires got in the way. While the ribbons eviscerated them, I ran straight into Gravisius. He dragged me over the bridge to the Lunaris Temple in the west and put me in Piety's tender care. Didn't say a single word to me the whole time. I was nothing but a spoil of war to him.
Alright, ribbons are basically like ribbons come to life by the use of thaumaturgy, aka skill gems inserted into the metal parts of the ribbons.
Now you must leave me.
Yeah.
What is it? Hagen is a man of many claims, and those claims seldom dance harmoniously together. A lie is a death sentence in Namakanui, so I was raised a daughter of truth. Hagen is a son of self-interest. He's no warrior, nor spirit singer. He's a Korangi. I don't know the right word in Oriathan, but in Karui it means he who wins wars with false promises.
Now that's not that fair. I mean, come on, look at him. He clearly didn't have any combat training. I mean, I don't, so... yeah. Anyway,
traversing the sewers under the river. I should have thought of that myself. Yet, the more of a picture you paint of that undying concoction in the sewers, the less I want to see it. If you manage to destroy it, expect a storm of undeath to descend upon you. The dark is their home, and there'd be nowhere more homely to the Undying than a pitch-swathed drain under a river.
So they are undead. Like the Gemling ghouls are indeed undead. It's not that they went insane, no, they died and basically were reanimated by the gems themselves.
Still breathing, eh?
So there you are.
Alright, so what have we learned today? Well, we have learned that the Empire, the Eternal Empire, was basically downed by an insider with the cover of a little bit of a barbaric, group invading the beach side of this empire. My thought is, if Vol didn't go after Thaumaturgy, Chittis might have had time enough and, eyes enough to see both Decody coming his way and Malachi's experiments. But we also learned that Oriev is an island nation, that the Ezamites are basically a race of slaves for the Eternal Empire, Piety is not Piety's real name, but come on. Who the fuck gives a shit about Piety? She isn't that interesting. She is a horrible person, don't get me wrong, and she's quite powerful in the lore of the game. But right now, she isn't that interesting lore-wise. We have learned that she does experiments with skill gems by infusing Nightmare into them. So the next question is, what exactly is Nightmare? Is that just the corruption of the spirits within the skill gem? Or maybe the skill gem in and of itself is nightmarish, corrupted, but the only thing you need to do is add a little bit of blood to it or something. I don't know. I don't have a recipe for nightmare gems. But in terms of gameplay wise, are gems infused with nightmare corrupted gems? Val gems? I'm inclined they are corrupted. Yeah, I'm inclined they are, like, you can use a Val orb on a skill gem to make it into a corrupted version of the skill gem, which might grant it a level higher than the highest level possible, or it might actually give it a level lower than the highest level possible. But I think those are the gems that Piety is using in her experiments. So that's basically all that Piety, tributes to this game's lore at the very least right now that we can use. Then we have learned that not Izero is the emperor of the Eternal Empire at the time of the downfall of the Eternal Empire. No, it's Emperor Chittis. Now, who or what is Izero then? And what is the being that gives ascendancy? Like, ascendancy is, at least in terms of the lore, something special. Because, well, I don't know, but it isn't a normal thing. You need to go through a trial named the Labyrinth. So, yeah, and Izaro himself, which is just basically a giant undead freaking Nomoban or something, or a wise man beating the ever crap out of you until you or he dies. But who is he, or what was he in his life? Might he be the first emperor of the Eternal Empire? Yeah, that might be the most logical conclusion, that he is the first emperor of the Eternal Empire. So, his ascendancy, like, gimmick. That might be the power that was used to basically trump everything else, because you know, the Karui with a little bit of a surprise attack could actually invade the entire coastline of the Eternal Empire without the, well, I think, without the intensive use of skill gems. So skill gems, virtue gems, aren't that powerful. Yes, they can be, if you use them right, but they aren't inherently extremely powerful. Ascendancy, though, is. So, yeah. Also, the Val were the ones who, well, basically, well, no, not the Val. The Val basically copied the way of the Liches in the Abyssal League in terms of their corrupting the gems that they have, the Val skill gems. But I don't have any lore on the Liches right now, and I will need to look them up, because I think that's the most that if anything in this entire lore is going to be a mystery, it's the Liches. I think that's the case, because yeah, as you experienced in the last few episodes, the Abyssal League is a clusterfuck of undead enemies. So, are they basically the spirits that actually inhabit the skill gems or something, or that can be formed into skill gems or something? I don't know. Also, there's a shit ton about gods that are gods, G-O-D-S, which I don't know yet, because that's basically the entire other half of this game. Yes, we are not even on half of this game's story mode, and if you want to go deeper, we're probably not even over 1/4 of this game's story. So yeah, basically, before we learn anything else, before we go to basically the second act of this entire game. The first act is up until Act 5, and then 6 to 10 is Act 2, and the Atlas is basically Act 3 of this entire game, if you wanted to split it in 3 parts. But basically my personal goal in terms of story and, you know, getting to know the lore of this game is getting a feel of the timeline and the feel of I don't know, power levels of things in Act 1. Yeah. So at the very least, the Liches were first, but we don't have any information on the Liches. So the Val were a civilization of humans who basically perfected the use of skill gems, but the Val skill gems need sacrifices to be even used. So they might have relied a lot on augmenting the skill gems to be even more powerful by, basically sacrificing everything that they see. Then we have the Eternal Empire, which got the Ascendancy gimmick alongside with the Vaal also were exterminated before the Eternal Empire was raised, I think, because I don't think that Itzari, the basically the god boss of the Vaal Empire, which we can actually fight in this game, would willingly give her extensive knowledge on virtue gems to an outside force. So we have two cataclysmic events, one in ancient times, like in the far past, and one pretty recently, as in the beginning of the Karui invasion, the Purity Rebellion, and the Cataclysm basically took place in the same generation, in the lifetime of King Kaum. And since then, Oriev has basically tried and scavenged the Eternal Empire for any knowledge on virtue gems. But where are we now in the timeline? I mean, it can't be thousands of years in the future. It can't. You know why? There are still Karui around. I don't think that Oriev would, be kind enough to basically, let one of the biggest threats against their civilization prosper, if we put it like that. We are exiles. The only Karui that I have seen are exiles, because the Karui don't really like the gods of the Orievans, and then we have the Azamites, which are, basically even more irrelevant, actually. But if you liked this episode, please leave a like. If you dislike this episode, please also leave a dislike, comment or whatever you want, but I cannot actually control anything that you do, because you are your own lord and or lady. I'll see you in probably a few days, because the next league is starting tomorrow for me. So until then, bye.